Hi folks, this is Miss Swaringen. I'm one of your reference and instruction librarians here at the EKS library, and today I'm going to be talking to you about using the TIC method in lab reports. So some of you may know that the TIC method is a method by which we incorporate outside source material into our own writing in a way that is fluid, in a way that clearly communicates what is outside source material and what is our own ideas. And I'm going to go over how that works in lab reports today with you. Let's go. So first we have to talk about what TIC even means. TIC is an acronym, and for lab reports, it's helpful to think about it as T for topic sentence, I for interpretation, and C for connection. If you think of these three things and these three steps, then you're in good shape. So first, when we think about a topic sentence, if you remember from English 110 or something comparable, a topic sentence is like the thesis statement on the paragraph level. It's a statement that, in your own words, controls what the paragraph is going to be about. Now, topic sentences are important because they tell your reader what the following paragraph will be about, and they keep your paragraphs focused in your lab reports. So that way your professor knows what idea you're on at any given time. Then you're going to do an interpretation of your source material. In other words, you're going to paraphrase. So following the topic sentence, your lab report will include, again, in your own words, a paraphrase of the source material. What's important to remember is that you should explain to your reader what you want them to think about the information provided in the outside source. And of course, at the end of your interpretation, you must include an in-text citation in whatever citation style you're using. In the case of Bio 150 lab reports, you'll be using CSC style. It's important to know that even though this information is phrased in your own words to demonstrate your own understanding of the outside source material, these are not your ideas. So you have to cite them appropriately. And then after you've done your topic sentence and your interpretation, you're going to do a connection to the topic sentence again. So you're going to explain to your reader what the source information you cited has to do with your topic sentence. So you will explain how it supports your topic sentence, or perhaps how it refutes or disproves your topic sentence. It could go either way, but you're going to have to explain pretty clearly what those two things have to do with one another. Now, let's look at it in practice. On the screen here, you can see that there is a question. This could be perhaps taken from a lab report and could be perhaps not the hypothesis, but could be one of the guiding questions about the lab that you're looking at. Explain why two proteins with a 17 kDa difference in size might not be fully separated using column chromatography. Well, the answer for that is that resolution is dependent on size difference. But that's not going to be good enough for this answer, right? Perhaps your professor wants a source to support your answer. Well, this is how you put it in lab report paragraph form. You'll start with a topic sentence, such as this one. Column chromatography may have failed to successfully separate two proteins because the resolution of the column is dependent on the relative size difference of the molecules. See how that kind of combines language from the question and from the answer on the previous slide to make one cohesive, here's the statement, here's the thing, right? So this is your topic sentence. It controls the rest of the paragraph. And now we have a direct quote from an outside source. You can see it cited as an end source citation here. And then this is the direct quote, but I'm not going to read the whole thing right now. So if you take a moment to read this, you can see that there's a lot of jargon there. You can see that there's, well, when I say jargon, I mean scientific jargon, things that someone from a lay audience, like someone who's not a scientist, may not understand right off the bat. And that's where paraphrasing or interpreting comes in handy. You can take apart these instances of scientific jargon, such as certain species or the diameter of the pores or fibers in the gel, or the uncharged gel particles. These would all be instances or examples of things that I, as a layperson, may not entirely understand, but you, as a science student, could translate or interpret for me. So once you've identified those areas where the meaning may need to be, interpreted a little bit, you can interpret those areas. So where it says certain species, we instead have molecules. Instead of uncharged gel particles, we have gel beads. Instead of diameter of the pores or fibers in the gel, we have size of the pores in the gel. Much easier to understand, in my opinion, and I think it will be easier for your lab professor will already know what all of these words mean. But by putting them in a language that makes a little bit more sense to a lay person, you're demonstrating to your professor that you understand what these scientific words mean, and you can interpret them in a way that someone like me wouldn't understand. That's demonstrating knowledge of the material that you're looking at, and that's why interpretation is so important. And that's why in all classes, professors are going to encourage you to paraphrase. It's because you're demonstrating understanding of the material. So, this paragraph is an example of the interpretation, but rewritten in a paragraph form. So let's read it. The separation relies on how much the molecules are left out of the gel beads. This separation is restricted by how many pores are in the gel, the comparison of the size of the molecules being separated, and the size of the pores in the gel beads. And then, of course, there's a citation at the end. This is a in-text citation and not an end-source citation. End-source citations go at the end of the paper in the bibliography section. Now, after you've done all the work of interpreting your outside source information, we got to remember to do that connection piece. Very often in lab reports, we spend so much time working on the interpretation piece of TIC that we forget about the connection. But the connection is very important. It's explaining how this outside source information that you demonstrated that you understood, now you're demonstrating that you understand how that information connects to your thesis or to your topic sentence. So let's take a look at this example. Therefore, the size difference of only 17 kDa between the two proteins was likely not large enough for the gel in the column chromatography to have produced an effective separation of the two molecules. Makes sense? Explains how this source information, the information from your lab, or I guess from the question, supports that thesis or that topic sentence. So now we can put it all together. And this is what it looks like when it's all together. It's a big paragraph, but keep that in mind when you're writing. This is a great way to make big paragraphs. So let's take a look at this all together. Column chromatography may have failed to successfully separate two proteins because the resolution of the column is dependent on the relative size difference of the molecules. The separation relies on how much the molecules are left out of the gel beads. This separation is restricted by how many pores are in the gel, the comparison of the size of the molecules being separated, and the size of the pores in the gel beads. Citation. Therefore, the size difference of only 17 kDa between two proteins was likely not large enough for the gel in the column chromatography to have produced an effective separation of the two molecules. Look at that. It's a nice paragraph that explains very succinctly what your topic sentence is, what your point of the paragraph is, outside information that supports your topic sentence, and a connection of how that outside information supports your topic sentence. So now your professor can very clearly follow your train of thought and see that you understood not only the outside source material, but how it connects to your lab report. If you have any questions on how to use TIC effectively, you can contact a librarian in the EKS library or contact a writing tutor. They're also very familiar with this method, so they should be able to help you there as well. So once again, I am Ms. Swaringen, and it's been my pleasure.